Thank you, Mary Grace, as she joins her class. The MPA class of 2025 elected Kenneth Wilson to speak on their behalf. So Kenneth Wilson is, the introduction is going to be amazing. Watch this. Watch this. Kenneth Wilson is Diné from Arizona. He earned a master's degree in public policy today. He's been a leader at the Ford School, serving as president and financial chair of the Students of Color and Public Policy Group, and as a GSI for an undergraduate seminar in energy policy. Kenneth completed his summer internship in DC as an analyst with the German Marshall Fund. Before attending Michigan, Kenneth spent 3 years teaching American history at a high school in New Orleans. He also served as the offensive coordinator of the school's football team, implementing a playbook and coaching players in skill, strategy, and character development. Kenneth has a BA in history from Syracuse University's Maxwell School, where he served as secretary of the Native American Student Program. Kenneth, it is an honor to welcome you to the podium.
Hello, everybody. I would like to start by acknowledging that the University of Michigan belongs to the Three Fires people, who are the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi, along with their neighbors, the Seneca, Delaware, Shawnee, and Wyandot nations. I would also like to state that we currently have the power to prevent acknowledgments like this from having to be made in the future on behalf of other forcibly removed people, such as Palestinians. Congratulations to the class of 2025. As graduates of the Ford School of Public Policy, we study how we can work on a large scale to make the everyday lives of regular people better. Former Secretary of Labor Frances Perkins said, "The people are what matter to a government, and a government should aim to give all the people under its jurisdiction the best possible life." The connections I have made here with people at the Ford School will always be the most important part of my education, and I feel very optimistic for our future, knowing that it will be Fordies at the helm. Just by being here, you have answered the call of service, and I'm proud to call all of you my friends. President Theodore Roosevelt said, "To educate a person in mind and not morals is to educate a menace to society." Morals are especially important for public service work, as people trust you to work for their best interests. This trust in a government of, by, and for the people is the essence of democracy, as authority comes from me, you, she, him, they, them, y'all, us. In our line of work, it is not enough to be good at it, but you must also be good. People must trust the integrity of your actions. Thus, the true authority and validity of a republic lies not on Pennsylvania Avenue, but on your hometown street, in the opinions and attitudes of your neighbors, which are expressed via free speech and the vote. This means that the key to understanding what makes good policy is understanding the people you are making policy for. This also means to understand oneself and to ensure that your morality is prepared for the responsibility. A quote from the Port Huron Statement, written in 1962 by Tom Hayden, a student activist here at the University of Michigan, is relevant to our current moment. "We are people of this generation, bred in at least modest comfort, housed now in universities, looking uncomfortably to the world we inherit. The world is and has been changing rapidly, and the insecurity and unpredictability of our times is anxiety-inducing and disheartening. As policymakers, we are responsible for creating ways to meet evolving societal needs. Many of us are here in direct response to an observed problem that we believed in solving. Yet, government departments, programs, and jobs are being gutted, and we are instead experiencing a dissolution of trust in authority, the very authority that we have earned through the attainment of this degree. Now, entering the public sector workforce, it seems the primary task is to rebuild this trust between a representative government and the people it is accountable to. Policymakers are an authority, and with increasing alarms being raised on the threat of authoritarianism, we must turn to ourselves and ask, what gives us the authority? Is it the fancy degree from the University of Michigan that gives us the clarity to be endowed with such power? On paper, yes, but without knowing the shared human condition, one is poised to be a menace. Activist Jerry Rubin said, "A rational society cannot be built by people who are out of touch with themselves and can't even run their own lives rationally." So, what makes our character? The ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Empathy is the paramount of all policy tools. Marcus Aurelius reminds us to not waste any time arguing what a good person should be. Be one. As I look out at a crowd of friends and colleagues, I see people who have earned the respect of authority, not because of what they know, but because of who they choose to be. Authoritarianism is authority without empathy, and the intolerance inherent in its implementation manufactures divisions in society. A lack of concern for your fellow human is what allows rights to be violated, and a refusal to attempt to understand those with different ideas breeds polarization between people who have a lot more in common than they don't. My time at the Ford School was spent fostering deep and lasting friendships, sometimes at the expense of my schoolwork, but I understood these human connections would be valuable, not only personally to me, but to my effectiveness as a policymaker as well. Dr. King said, "Without love, there is no reason to know anybody, for love will in the end connect us to our neighbors, to our children, and to our hearts." And I say, without love for people, without understanding people, there is no authority to create policy. Finally, I want to issue a warning. While fears of a tyrannical government are the valid basis of our country, we must also be aware that it is the government who is meant to protect common people from exploitation by rich and influential members of society. Those with extreme wealth and power have infiltrated our government to serve their own interests. We must realize this form of government is in direct opposition to the concept of democracy and threatens our basic rights and freedoms. I do not believe people to be so naive as to not know this is oligarchy. President Franklin Roosevelt stated, "The liberty of a democracy is not safe if the people tolerate the growth of private power to a point where it becomes stronger than the democratic state itself." That, in essence, is fascism. Ownership of government by an individual group or any controlling private power. We are the people who will lead our respective nations, and we have a double responsibility to fight fascism. On one hand, to be the governmental authorities who can check the power of oligarchy, and on the other, to be the people who are willing to stand up to attempts to weaponize the authority of representative government. Activist David Harris noted, "We are never powerless under the worst circumstances, for we control our behavior." As policymakers, our consciousnesses are the checks and balances of the authority of government. We must be aware that we are not only defined by what we do, but also by what we refuse to do. Common decent sense of how we should treat people doesn't require a formal education. It simply requires a heart with good intentions and a mind capable of critical thinking and independent action. When faced with nuanced predicaments in our work, we will strive to understand our opposition and diligently work to find feasible compromises. But when it comes to the issue of defending the values that make us great, liberty, democracy, equality, and inalienable rights, we must take a stand, and you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. And with that, congratulations to the Gerald R. Ford School of Public Policy, class of 2025. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Kenneth.